Hey, this is the Stubborn German podcast. I'm Kevin Ostie, coming to you from the beautiful Stubborn German Brewing Company in equally as delightful Waterloo, Illinois, which is really just kind of down the road from the St. Louis metro area. And I'm joined, of course, as always, by Mr. Chris Ron, the proprietor of the Stubborn German Brewing Company.
It is great to be here, Kevin.
Sure is. And we're also joined by our esteemed producer, Mr. Jarod Chasson.
Good evening.
And a very special guest, Mr. Eric Vanberkum.
Good evening.
Hey, Eric.
Hey,
Thanks
Chris.
for coming.
Welcome, Eric.
It's good to be here.
It is a good evening. And so, Eric, before we actually get this show started, we have a contest that is known as the German Word of the Day, in which Chris lays out a German word. We all have to guess what it means. Nobody's ever gotten it right.
No pressure.
And you'll get to go first.
So, Chris, do you have a German word of the day prepared?
I do, Mr. Ostie.
How about that?
The German word of the day for today is punktlich.
I'm sorry, what?
Punktlich.
Can you use it in a sentence?
I can. The German word of the day is punktlich.
That's not the sentence I was looking for. Punktlich?
Punktlich.
Oh, there's a hidden K in there.
Yes.
Punkt.
Our guest goes first.
Guest goes
Courtesy.
first.
Any thoughts, Eric?
No clue.
No clue. It does not mean no clue.
I've tried that like every time.
What did they do in that one show where you would have to call in somebody to
phone a friend?
Phone a friend, yeah.
There you go.
phone a friend?
Yeah.
You know any krauts you can
If
call?
I could put this foam over the microphone around my cell phone, I could probably call and get the answer.
Well, they'll be stepping outside the very rigid rule structure we have here. So, yes. So you got to say something. Punktlich.
Punktlich.
Yeah.
As a first-time guest, you could pass and go to another, but we'll come back to you.
Let's see.
You can also just make up any word you want.
That's typically what I do.
Literally any word.
Nobody's ever gotten this right.
Okay, let's.
He defers.
He defers to
defer
Kevin.
to my
All right,
left.
show him how it's done, Kevin.
All right. So, punkt. All right. I believe that means point in German. And the way I perceive that is there was, if you go buy an old Porsche or an old Mercedes-Benz, the stereo is made by Blaupunkt,
All right.
which is known as Blue Point. Right?
Very good.
This is very intuitive here.
So the Licht part, of course, Licht is a very large part of Liechtenstein, of course, which I have no idea what it means.
Dang it.
You
were on a roll there.
Well, it is a polka.
So I'm going to say it is Licht. My German relatives are like, you dummy.
Right.
My grandfathers are all spinning in their graves. I'm going to say it's a high point.
A high point.
Okay.
All right.
That's my guess. Jared?
Let's see. I'm guessing, is a total guess, that the Licht might mean light, but then I don't know what, like, point light or light point.
It could be one of those funny German things
right,
that don't
it
make sense in
definitely
English.
could be. I'm going to
Or in
say...
German.
Yeah, laser pointer.
Oh!
Laser pointer.
Damn, that comes out of nowhere.
There we go.
Very nice.
There's my light.
There's your light. Got
Laser
it.
pointer.
Okay.
All right, what do you got, Eric?
Noted.
Wow, that's good. We might actually have
I
somebody win
can't
this
imagine it's right.
one. He's thinking.
Sometimes Chris goes
I think
thematic, so like maybe it's related to the guest that we have on.
Yeah, but he didn't know he was coming.
That's true.
Sausage
That's
man.
true. We did drop this on him.
Now I think I have to agree with Kevin on the light point.
Light.
Okay.
Okay.
Not something that translates easily into English, but might be something that makes sense if you're German.
Light point.
Light point.
So we're just going to call it light point. There
Light
you go.
point. All right.
Okay.
We'll go with that.
You got those down?
Got them. They are noted.
All right.
All right. Good luck, everyone.
Yes.
We're going to let that fester for a while.
Sure, let that ferment.
Does the winner get a free refill?
The loser doesn't. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, the losers get a free refill. You're welcome.
All right, so the occasion that brings our friend Eric to town is the strangely abbreviated Stubborn German Bavarian Breakfast event, which used to be something you could buy tickets to and come to, but because of the Omicron variant and all the rest of the nonsense, it's been kind of curtailed a little bit, but it's just going to be a few people hanging out, and Eric didn't get that message and came down anyway, which is all good.
Eric was invited. It's all good.
Yes, he was. And you've been to that event a couple times.
Yes, I have.
And this year you brought something to the party.
Yeah.
Yes, I went to a local butcher. Well, not so local to me, probably a 40-minute drive.
Wow.
But
And you came down from the Chicago area, so
Yes.
not local here at all.
They have a very vast array of German sausages and meats, and
Yes. I
So-
peeked in the cooler a little bit. I didn't take anything out and read, but it was already looking tasty.
Sure. So what did you bring? Some lick point?
well, remember
Some
the
pump lick?
remember the list I sent you?
Oh, yeah.
It's all on there.
It's all on
It's
there.
everything that's there. That's hard to read.
Wow.
Everything that was German.
It was a ton of. I mean, it was probably 10 or 15 different things, and it was all different German sausages and meats and
That's the worst.
deli. German sausages,
Thank you.
are the worst. No, they're the worst.
The worst.
When does Wurst mean good? When it's German.
When it's German.
There you go. Well, you always can tell a good German, but you can't tell him much. So Eric and I have known each other for a long, long time, and by day he's a machinist.
Oh, okay.
Engine builder, race engine builder, but in his spare time, he's like a fantastic chef.
Really? Okay.
Yes, and Eric is known to travel with barbecues and with other paraphernalia to heat and make food and whatever, and it's just something you really like to do. So we appreciate that you brought some stuff down to the event because it
absolutely.
adds to the whole deal.
And the authenticity. Tell our listeners about the lobster story that you told me about. I got a kick out of that.
Yeah, right at Joliet. So we have another friend, a whole bunch of friends that are racers, drag racers, right? And a lot of these guys are based in the Chicago area. So the home track is at Joliet, Illinois, and in the middle of the summer was the event that happened at Joliet, the race at Joliet. So all the guys go out, and at these events you've got a race trailer, you got the car, you got several, essentially teams. It's all amateur stuff, but it's a lot of people there. And you guys really turn it up like 100 notches, because normally when you go to a racetrack you can get the equivalent of fair food.
Yeah.
You can get the hot dog and the
Burgers and-
and they're not good.
Yeah.
Well, you guys decided you had everything from a snow cone machine, literally, in the pits,
Really?
to a giant lobster boil.
Wow.
Yeah, the lobster boil was brought in by a friend of ours who had built a race car and sold it to another mutual friend. And he's from New Hampshire.
Yes.
So he invited his father and his father's friend here, and they brought, I don't know how many pounds of lobster.
Lobster.
Lobster. Exactly. John Whedon. Boston John, we used to
Boston
call him.
John, yeah.
Great guy. But John contributed the lobsters. Jeff DiAugustino, who was part owner of the race car that our friend Nick Scavo drove, brought the snow cone machine.
And he's also a brilliant engine builder.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the best.
And I brought all my goodies.
And his goodies, this guy has a barbecue that looks like the Jupiter 2. It's like this giant spaceship of a Weber kettle. It's a Super X. What is it, 5 feet across or something? Pretty close.
Yeah,
At
about
least.
Yeah, for
4.5,
real.
5 feet.
Yeah. And back in those days, I was working for Hot Rod Magazine TV, and I would go to all these races across the Midwest and see these guys. And I didn't know that Eric was also an engine builder and a crew chief. I just thought he was the cook in the beginning.
The lobster guy.
Right. And it was a different city every couple of weeks. So we're in Indy, and we're in Bowling Green, we're in Memphis, we're in Florida. And every time I see him, he's handing me an Italian beef or some sausage he made or some roasted peppers off the grill.
Nice.
Like, you guys are top shelf. You got your own
chef. You
right?
travel with the chef?
Yeah, and then I see you with Bob Curran up on the line because you're tuning his engine. And it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's what how Kevin said this at the end of the story. He's like, these racers would just come by and get more lobster, and they just all called him chef, and they didn't even realize that they could probably really benefit from his excellent engine knowledge.
For sure. So today we fast forward a few years in our shop when we have an engine that needs a special finesse and needs somebody who's going to be polite, who's been around a little while and has some experience.
What are you saying?
We sent it to Eric because he's got a lot of experience doing this stuff, and then he brings sausage.
down.
It's a win.
Great. That is a win.
Nothing like getting physically old, but never really mentally growing up.
Correct. So Eric has he had it figured out because in the beginning of the baseball season. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to open myself up here, but I grew up in the Chicago area. And
Careful now.
My friends and a lot of family are all fans of a team up there.
The White Sox.
Well, not them. But the real fun is everybody gets together, right, in the beginning of the season. And we enjoy drinks, so we watch the game and have a good time. And Eric comes out with us. He's been out with us, I don't know, the past 5 years or so. And he's always the last man standing. Right? And we're talking some guys that can put away some beer.
Yeah. Some old style.
Yeah, a lot of old style. And the secret is Eric has it figured out. You got to drink a little water along the way and pace yourself.
Is that
right?
how you do that?
Yeah, right. So
all right.
We're learning.
I'll have to try that. Yeah. Water, you say? Isn't beer like 98% water?
What percentage is a human body of water?
Right?
It's up there. Yeah, my body or your body?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So a few years ago, when the Bavarian Breakfast happened, Eric came down and helped stir the Glühwein, and one of the more special times here at the brewery, and I think we talked about this before, was after that event was over, Chris and Eric and I had the good fortune of being able to sit at the corner of the bar and just spent the whole afternoon there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which resulted in you and I, he was staying with me, and we're back at my house, and neither one of us could get off the couch to change the channel off the original Star Trek series.
So it was a marathon, huh?
I think I remember a video of that being posted on Facebook of you snoring. Really, really loud audio.
You snoring? That's fantastic.
Yep.
So, as a surprise guest, we appreciate you coming on and helping out and doing everything. It was funny because the original intent of this episode was to dive into our esteemed producer, Mr. Jarod Chasson's past.
The Jarod episode.
I warned them against it, but they insisted.
Well, it's kind of more organic now because this is the first time you're meeting Eric and Eric's first meeting you, and now everybody gets to meet you as well.
Okay.
So Mr. Jarod, as Chris said to me,
how was childhood?
Oh, my goodness. Well,
on the Kevin episode, I took Kevin's role and started interviewing him, and my first brilliant question was, how was childhood? I guess we should start at the beginning.
That was good.
That was just after the beginning.
Yeah.
So, Jarod, how was childhood?
It was fine. Good. I enjoyed my childhood.
Did you grow up here?
I did not. I moved to Waterloo when I was in 5th grade. So, kind of in the middle of childhood.
Still the formative years.
Yeah.
Where did you move from?
So, the Cahokia, Illinois, which is just across the river from St. Louis. And that's where my parents grew up. And, The
Cahokia Indians named the city of Chicago.
Really?
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yes, the word Chicago in Cahokia Indian means green and smelly onions.
Interesting.
Because Chicago was a swampy onion field
Yeah. Okay.
back in the day. So
What is it now?
about the same.
Shots fired.
Worse. From a guy who lives up in that area.
That's funny.
So you're in 5th grade. You ended up at Waterloo High School or Waterloo Grade School.
Junior high. Yep.
And-
Yeah. And so, in fact, and this is a little nostalgia and a little tearjerker here. So, Coach Keefe was one of the first people that I met in Waterloo. Yep, and he was the gym coach, and of course we, I think first day of school, everybody meets in the gym or whatever, and the late Coach Keefe who recently passed.
Yep.
So he was, and of course he was great and very welcoming and friendly, and one of the best people I ever knew in Waterloo.
For sure.
So
Solid
That's
guy.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was it traumatic coming to a new school at that age? Do you remember?
Yeah, a little bit. I was young enough. 5th grade's kind of young enough where you're still. It's exciting and fun, and you don't have those same friend connections that you leave behind. My sister was a little bit older, and so she was traumatized. It was like leaving all her best friends and having to go into high school and meet all new people. That was tough. So junior high was a little easier. But,
is that enough childhood for you, Chris?
I think so, yeah.
We can move on.
You can move on, actually.
I think our listeners have unsubscribed already. So, yeah.
Our listener.
Four of them.
Yeah, we'll buzz right through.
Yeah.
So you are also a very talented musician.
Well, I didn't play Metallica in my bedroom as much as Chris may have. But
When nobody was home, yeah.
I played it when they were home.
But I've seen your video that you shared of playing at the local wine bar.
Oh, yeah.
Guitar
I
and
had recently
singing.
played an open mic night.
Yeah, right on. So what's your musical background?
Yeah, so pretty quickly when I moved to Waterloo, actually was the first time I joined the school band and started actually learning anything about music. My dad was always a musician. He played guitar and wrote and sang songs.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm sure I picked up a lot of it from him, but definitely learned the actual ins and outs of what, music notation and everything meant.
What kind of stuff did he play?
My dad?
Yeah.
He played acoustic guitar, and, at least when I was around, he wrote and played Christian, I will say folk music, but,
Acoustic anyway.
yeah. Mm-hmm. And so he actually had some songs published, and he still gets royalty checks to this day from some of his songs. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
That's cool.
But, when he was younger, he was playing Beatles tunes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you play guitar.
I do. I mean,
Anything
that's
else?
what I play now.
Yeah,
Back
what
in the
did you
day,
used to play?
I was a drummer. That's what I.
Yeah, he could wail.
Yeah. I don't do that much anymore. There's just not. There's less of a demand for the aging drummer in your basement. But
Well, you probably rock a tambourine or a triangle every once in a while, right?
if
Just
I
to-
can grab something to beat on, I will do that.
Yeah.
But a lot of I beat on my chest a lot, and my family gets really annoyed by that.
Yeah,
they
that's your
just
drum?
can't stand it. Yeah, that's my
Well, at least you're not beating your chest.
right.
Like Tarzan style.
Exactly.
So how? I'm not even aware of this.
Yeah.
The age relationship between you two guys, and how long have you known each other?
Let's see. As long as I've been drinking beer at Chris's brewery is how long I've known him.
So you met him here, essentially.
Well, so apparently we met when Chris was in high school, and I was helping teach the drum line. I was probably in college, I guess.
so you're trying to teach him Metallica in his underwear.
right? Yeah.
Awesome.
And honestly, no offense, Chris, I don't really remember much of that.
You were outstanding.
I'm a pretty forgettable musician.
Well, I
Actually-
didn't work with the pit that much, and Chris was in the pit, and so we didn't work together very often. But it was a long time ago.
The pit is where there are some talented musicians
Yeah.
in the pit for sure, because
Absolutely.
the marimba and the xylophone and all. You have to know what you're doing.
For
but
sure.
That also happens to be where the untalented musicians like myself go.
Well,
and we were saying this before the show, but that's where like the guy that can handle like the one gong hit in the middle of the song. That's where he goes. That's where I went.
which is this? That's the gong. That's the hit everyone remembers. Is the gong at
You're
the
a
end
gong,
of the
a
song.
gong member?
Now, I actually did when I was in 8th grade. They used to do this thing. I don't know if they do it anymore. The 8th graders, the top chair. I'm not bragging, but the top chair 8th graders got to play up in high school in the marching band.
Nice.
And so I was in the pit in 8th grade because we weren't able to get to all the practices. So a lot of them. Well, I didn't march because of that.
Gotcha.
So I actually was in the pit. I was just like Chris for a year, and it was fun.
The giant bass drum.
Yeah.
One hit per song.
Actually, I got forced to play the xylophone, and I knew nothing about piano or xylophone or anything. I mean, it was
Holy cow.
It was very stressful.
You got to read music for that.
Oh yeah, and you can't fake it. And
See, that's my problem. I can count. I can count notes,
Right.
but I cannot do music. You know
the musical staff. And,
let's just say I couldn't wait to get out of the pit and stop playing the xylophone.
So then you moved into guitar.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I started playing guitar in high school, just barely, just like as an extra thing. A couple of my friends knew how to play, and I wanted to be like them, and
You
so
wanted to get all the chicks.
yeah. And my dad played, but actually he never taught me. I think one time he sat down to try to like give me a lesson. And family and lessons, it never works. So we quickly moved on. But later I just picked up a guitar and started tinkering, playing Green Day and Candlebox and Pearl Jam or whatever.
Metallica.
Exactly, some Metallica.
That's it. So if you get the chance again to play out at the open mic night or whatever. What's your preferred set list these days?
Well, these days I try to be eclectic, so I'll play, acoustic versions of any kind of song. So it could be bluegrass, it could be, 90s rock, it could be anything. But
Beethoven.
Yeah, maybe not Beethoven. But basically, it's got to be simple enough that I can play it, easy enough to play and sing.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's wisdom there.
Yeah.
Because if you find a song that's your classic rock and roll song that's 3 or 4 chords and not a crazy vocal range, and you're comfortable in that, you can make that song sound awesome, and you do a good job.
Well, thank you. My overall approach is that I want to play songs that not everybody else plays.
Yeah.
You can go to a whatever cover band or a bar and some guy's playing, and you almost always hear a lot of the same songs.
Sure.
Yeah. This classic, Brown Eyed Girl and whatever.
Was expecting the Hallelujah chorus at the wine bar, and you killed it.
And I nailed it. Yeah. So,
Nailed it as usual.
Yeah.
But it's tough because you want to pick songs that everybody knows, but maybe they don't always hear every time they go out, and so it's a
you
little
want them
tricky.
to go, I like this song.
That's a win. When they go, I remember this. I don't remember the last time I heard this song. That's awesome. Yeah.
I will tell you, when the last time I played the open mic, I played just 3 songs, and I had at least a couple people come up to me and say, "Oh, so did you write all those songs?" And
Absolutely.
I was like, "No, you didn't recognize." Oh, so I picked the wrong songs. Apparently,
a little too obscure.
they didn't know that.
No, you picked the right ones because they think you're a brilliant writer.
I guess
now.
so. Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah,
those were mine.
For sure.
sure. Yeah.
So okay,
Anyway,
beyond the guitar hobby, so there's 2 more directions to go. A little bit about your current family situation.
Which is interesting these days.
This is why we talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's dive in.
I mean, there's not that much to say. We have 3 kids. One of them's brand new, and the others are old and rusty. So we have an almost 22-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a one that just turned 1-year-old. So
that's fantastic.
We got the fresh start, so to speak. And yes,
it's
so
kind of
it's
a
definitely
redo.
a culture shock. I spent a lot of time up at Stubborn German about a year ago, and now I spend less time up here than I used to.
Taking care of your wonder.
Yeah.
But
No, he's been great. It's been definitely an interesting adjustment, but it's very fun. And they say he'll keep you young. I call BS on that. No, I don't feel younger. Let me tell you.
are you having flashbacks?
No, yeah. I feel older.
Do you remember the life lessons you learned with your two older children and trying
Nothing
to
is the
reapply
same.
those?
Let me tell you. 20 years later, nothing's the same.
Oh, it's like riding a
toys are
bicycle.
different. yeah. I mean, in that sense, it's the same. But toys are different. Technology is different. There's all these video monitors that didn't exist before.
How did you even
all the
do
shows
it before?
I don't know how we raised kids before.
Or you don't know how to
It's a
do it
miracle.
now.
Yeah, well, we're definitely doing it wrong now. But no, it's crazy how much stuff has changed. All the car seats are different, and the laws are. Everything.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. It's different, but in a lot of ways, it's the same.
So you have a very unique perspective.
I'm sure
in that
there's some
respect.
other weirdos out there who had kids 20 years apart like us, but yes, somewhat unique.
There's some guys in the Himalayas that are in their, they're 140 years old. And they got 96 kids, and they're still having them.
Well,
Is that true?
what I find interesting or whatever is that we started out pretty young. We were the first of all of our friends to have any kids.
I will tell you that when you told me you had a 22-year-old, I didn't really believe it because
I'm going on 44, so.
Well, you don't look like it. You look like a rock star.
But we started
did you write
early.
those songs?
There was one day when I walked into the a fairly crowded bar, and there's Jarod with his son, who's now freshly can drink.
Yep.
And I couldn't really tell them apart for
With
a second.
the same beard as me, yeah.
I was just
That's awesome.
one of those is Jarod.
That
I
is great.
think it's that one.
Well,
yep, it's that one. Got
At
it.
least you know
Now-
it
But
was
it took a
yours.
second.
Yeah.
Now, my wife is the one that truly defies age.
Absolutely.
She
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Everyone mistakes her all the time for the sister of our kids,
For
or
sure.
a high school. She'll go to the high school when our kids were still in high school. She would do a lot of photos of the sports teams that they were on. And she'd be walking around, and they always just assumed she was a kid taking pictures for the school paper or whatever, and it was like, no, she's 40, but
And
thanks.
all of a sudden, you're the weirdo.
Yeah, I'm the creep who's hanging out with this kid. Yeah,
Come on,
These two
Yes.
kids and this young girl and now a 1-year-old.
Yes.
Well, you're right. That is an interesting scenario.
Yeah.
So your professional career is completely classified.
Well, yeah, no.
and we're done talking about
I'm
it.
only allowed
all
to
we can
talk
say
a
about
little
that.
bit, and that's it. Yeah. No.
So you work.
yeah. I work in computers,
There
which
you
is
go.
a good thing to, have a hobby that makes me work with computers all the time. So,
That's all you can say about that.
yeah, pretty much.
Very nice. Now, you were the catalyst for actually kind of making the podcast happen. Chris and I had the idea, and I had told him I would love to do it, but I'm just too darn busy.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you came along somehow and said, "I do podcasts." And Chris is like, "Oh, I got a guy.
got
His
a
name
guy."
is Jarod." And you can imagine. I'm thinking, oh, sure.
you got a guy. Okay.
Yeah, right.
I know. Kevin is the old pro here.
Well, not to say that, but it's so accessible now. Anybody
for sure.
can get the equipment these
Yep.
days and make something that, is what it is. But you and I met doing this. I never met you. I met
Episode 1,
right? I may have seen
Right.
you here at the bar or whatever.
Yeah.
But I saw the gear and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, and I'm willing to give it a try. I know Chris isn't going to steer us wrong, especially because this is his show.
Right.
And next thing you know, I'm like, this guy's got it. That's very
Okay.
cool. And everybody thinks that this show sounds good and it's produced well, and you do a heck of a
Well,
job.
thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a way that I'm trying to get you to produce one of mine.
Well, I got to give credit where credit's due. I actually didn't come up with the idea. My partner in crime on my previous podcast, Ryan, I don't know if we can use his last name, but
We probably shouldn't.
Also classified.
Also classified.
he actually came up with the idea and approached Chris about it, but various circumstances came up, and he was not able to go through with this podcast.
So Kevin was
I
plan
took
B.
over. Yeah,
You usually am.
no, and actually,
Or
like from the
from the
beginning,
year
when we first approached Chris right away, the first thing he said was, "Oh, that sounds great. I would want to do it with my friend Kevin." So you were right, from the beginning.
He was plan A.
yeah,
and you guys
it was
are like-
always about Kevin.
And you're like, oh, sure, Chris has a guy. Right?
Yeah, exactly. We were like, Chris knows a friend.
Everybody's going,
who
oh,
has
God.
a
No,
podcast.
we got to get this guy.
Yeah. It is funny, though, and and Chris actually, when he first mentioned, oh, we should have a Jarod episode, I was like, no, any jackass can have a podcast, and there's nothing special. But
However,
And it's true. Anybody can start one. Just
Anybody
get their
can.
phone out and start recording.
Yeah, but it's not the same. It takes a little something to be able to do one that people actually listen to and can sit through and enjoy.
Well, I was fortunate enough,
and that sounds good.
Well, thank you. I had a background in music, as we've discussed a little bit, and a background in recording a little bit.
See, there you go.
That goes a long way. When you
For sure.
can have a little bit of gear and equipment and know enough to not screw it up, it makes a crappy podcast sound like. And
here we are,
a good one.
What are you trying to
Next
say?
thing you know, you're in a brewery.
A crappy podcast,
Stubborn
but
German podcast.
at least sounds good.
Yeah.
8 Slovenian listeners.
Yeah. I forgot about those guys.
Yeah, no, don't forget about that.
No.
Yeah.
But, it's a great point. And one of the number one complaints about podcasts are people can't stand the way they sound.
Yeah.
Because the microphones are bad or they're overmodulated. It sounds like
Right.
they're in a toilet or, whatever. So decent sound quality, you're more than halfway there.
Yeah.
And then when you got a guy like Chris who knows everything and has all these great stories,
Right.
then it's a guaranteed win.
Yep. I've listened to several podcasts with much more famous people than us, and he'll have celebrities on and, great content, but he's literally recording with his phone in the middle of the table in his basement.
Right.
And it sounds like that.
Sure.
And it's hard. It's physically hard to listen to. Your ears just tire out from trying, and your brain's trying to focus on what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's fatiguing.
And I've had, many people ask me about starting a podcast. And my first, bit of advice is always get the sound right.
Yep.
Just spend a little bit. It doesn't have to be much money to make it sound better, because people will turn off a podcast that doesn't sound good.
Right.
That being said, I have to make sure we get this one edited tonight and sounding
Make it
as
sound
good as
good.
I can.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, the sound goes a long way. You can talk about the dumbest stuff in the world, and people will keep listening if it sounds good.
Yeah. So I think my only little bit of advice on this topic would be, if you find yourself getting recruited to do another podcast, tell them
say
you've
no.
got some recording background to start with.
Yeah.
Because then it'll be like, oh, sure, cool.
Well,
Yeah.
and maybe that's my fault. I probably did not come to the table with Kevin and let him know that Jarod has this experience. And
It's all good. And
I think I just said he has a podcast.
I think you said had.
Oh,
Had,
yeah.
yeah. Formerly had a
So I
podcast.
think he's kind of wrapping up this other podcast. I don't know. And,
Well, part of my philosophy is if you're gonna be a pro, you're gonna do it no matter what, And if you would have invited me to do this, and it was you're sitting there with your phone in this loud
Right.
room, we would have made the best of that. We would
Sure.
have done what we can. But the good thing is it wasn't that. and
Well-
I think the fun thing was, I'm going to say 5 minutes into the first one, we're like, here we are.
Yeah.
It really, everybody kind of knew what everybody was all about, and boom.
Yeah,
So that's cool.
It definitely we found our groove pretty early.
Yep.
And we've actually pivoted a little. I think when we first started this, it was kind of like all beer, all bourbon, and we would maybe have some people on, and it quickly kind of turned into having guests that are maybe, they're not affiliated, they're loosely affiliated with the brewery. We've had other
so
companies.
slightly. Yeah.
And it's honestly some of the best feedback we've gotten has been on those episodes where you have, the Feathers Farm folks on,
Sure,
or the Pie Hard folks, or whatever,
Right.
People are interested in what's going on in this community. So
I think they're interested to learn things they had no idea what was happening.
Yeah, right.
And again, we did an episode recently where Chris kind of geeked out on how to brew, and that was awesome.
Yeah, I know.
'cause that was really
we
cool.
could have
It
made that
was.
2 episodes.
Well, you saved it for them. We'll do it again.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, you're right. And when Chris and I first talked about doing this like 5 or 6 years ago, I
Yeah.
think, it was more of a community thing that was
that's
just kind
what we
of
talked about. Yeah.
kind of anchored here, because you could do it here instead of, because I'm not a big proponent of the podcasts that are a propaganda machine
Sure.
for your own thing.
yeah,
Because you can only listen to that a couple times, and then it's like, okay,
Right.
I get it. I'm supposed to go drink your beer, whatever.
yeah,
But by meeting the people in the town and everything, it's pretty cool. And guests like Eric, who come from far away and join us for a little while, it's fun.
yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Good way to get out of town. But you guys started this, I think, probably before about 80-90% of all these microbreweries that are sprouting up all over the country.
There's definitely a big boom now, and there was. Yeah, you're right. Probably we're going on 6 years now. So yeah, you're right.
I remember there was maybe one or two in the area where I live, out just west of Chicago, when you guys started, and now they're all over the place.
Really? I need to come visit you.
Yeah,
I think they heard how good Chris's brewery turned out, and everybody's like, we got to do that too.
Well, we need to have that.
Exactly.
Well, so that right there was a neat little insight on why this place is successful, because many business owners, if you said, hey, there's all kinds of businesses just like yours popping up, many business owners would say, well, screw them. I want the business. I hope they fail. Yeah. And Chris is like, oh, can I go?
Yeah.
Right? Where are they? Because I want to go check them out. And this kind of open sharing promotion of the whole, it's good for everybody. It's a great mentality.
I remember.
I was wondering where you're headed with that.
One of the first things I remember about this place was, about 50 yards from here is another microbrewery in town. Uh-huh. And I was so surprised at the not partnership, but they were both promoting each other. They were like, if you don't come here, go over there, and you should check out the ale that they've got brewing right now.
Yeah.
It was very cool to see that, because every business is usually pretty competitive, and these guys were helping each other out. So, yeah.
I think with just like sports, you're taught you've got to compete, you got to compete. And in a lot of businesses, you want to keep things from your competition, and keep secrets, and and that's the way I thought businesses worked, Mick, and when I started doing what I do.
Yeah.
But I learned over the years that it's much easier to network with other people who have the same business interests, likes that you do. It's going to be far more productive for you and them than to try to compete and bury them, so to speak.
Yes, exactly. Yep. No, I mean, and there's just there's no reason to be competitive. There's plenty of people that like to drink good beer, and I can only fit 100 people in here, so
right. Yeah, in our business, we say we can't restore them all. There's billions of cars out there.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's a very healthy, way to look at it. And it comes across, you can tell when somebody is like trying to keep it all to themselves, and they become very angry. And I'll tell you, getting back to, meeting Eric and covering racing, these guys were on the line drag racing against somebody else, and they put everything they got into this race program. And if the guy they're racing against needs a tool or a part, they give it to him. I mean, it's
I can't imagine that. I mean, all the money and time and effort and travel and family time away from, and then here you go, I'll help,
for sure.
I'll help you out.
Yeah. Stay up all night and help the guy rebuild the engine.
It was like when Bob Curran's father came to the racetrack with us one time, and he was a very, very successful businessman. And he turned to me one time and said, I've never seen so much friendly competition in my life.
Right. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah. And it was enjoyable for everybody.
Yeah, it was.
Very cool.
So, getting back to the Jarod episode.
Yeah.
The Jarod episode. Dun, dun, dun. Kind of the big hole in the story is that your secret alter ego we can't really talk about is kind of making me want to ask questions.
Sure, I know. It's enticing, isn't it?
I guess I'll stop right there.
All right, so your two children that are in their 20s, right? Mm-hmm. What do they do?
Well, they currently are both students.
Right.
So my eldest, my son, Carter, he did not go right into college. He actually started his own business. He was doing home repair, maintenance kind of things. And he did it all the right way, that you should do, insurance and tax IDs and all that stuff. And he did that for a while, and then he just wanted to kind of try some other things. So he worked a lot of sort of labor things. He worked at a sod farm, and he worked as a mechanic for JF Electric, and just various things. And then he sort of decided, you know what, because I pushed him to go to school right out of high school, of course. And he was like, you know what, I think I want to go to school, Dad. And it's like, really? Now? Okay.
All right.
That's probably a good idea. So he went to school, I would say back to school. So he's in school now. He wants to get a business degree, so we'll see where that goes. And my daughter is a freshman right now at Lindenwood, and she is cheering there.
Nice.
And that's been very fun to go to her football and basketball games and watch that. And it's just close enough that we can do that without being, man, we got to drive 4 hours to her game.
Iowa State or something.
Right. So yeah, that's been good. And she wants to do digital marketing.
Nice.
Which apparently is a fairly new thing, as you can imagine. But
I'll tell you what, the whole digital marketing thing, to me, because I'm kind of a marketing guy, initially sounded like hogwash.
Yeah.
Right? It was like, I'm not paying somebody to mess around on social media and do that. And then the more I got into it, for example, I have a marketing guy starting Monday.
Oh, wow. Nice.
For sure. Because the goal is to get your message out to people that might be your customer, and to do it in a manner that represents what you do. And Tammy does a lot of this for Stubborn here,
or all of it.
And right,
I was going to say, Chris says I'm not paying for that either. I'm going to have Tammy do it.
Well, but the challenge becomes learning the classics of what marketing means, what advertising means, are two different things, and then staying on top of all the platforms, and they change daily.
Sure.
And so now it was funny, we were having a conversation about TikTok, and TikTok is the short video platform, you share it, whatever. And I've been resisting TikTok because it's owned by the Chinese government.
All right.
That's kind of my thing.
I did not know that TikTok was Chinese.
It is. It's owned by the Chinese government.
Is that a Chinese word, TikTok?
It is. It means Blaupunkt in Chinese.
It's Chinese for laser pointer.
Yes, exactly. Well, and I thought, if I'm gonna go down the road of TikTok, I'm gonna make a skin for my TikTok player that has the Chinese premier looking at you.
Right.
There you go. That's what they're doing. They're looking at you through the phone. But interestingly, this gentleman that we're hiring, we were talking to him, and he said, so the customers that come to our business are not, who you would think are TikTok users, younger people that are sharing the videos. But this guy pointed out that, but their kids are. Yeah. And their kids might go, hey, Dad, check out this awesome car.
Right.
Right? And now you reach them, right?
Yeah,
your daughter, and that field is not going to shrink. It is only going to grow.
Yeah.
So she's in a good spot. As long as she understands the whole goal is to, when people need your service, they think of you, and then just apply it to whatever platform it is. Or they need your beer, they think of you.
Yes, and the only advice that I would give to her is to always have a camera rolling when someone is being an idiot. And then
there you go.
Put that directly on Facebook. You'll get hundreds of likes, just like my wife does on our page.
Yeah, there you go. And then it's up to you to close the deal. Hey, you're the idiot. Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's always someone being an idiot. And so anytime you turn your camera
that's never going to go away. Yep. So, well, that's good. Fantastic. Yeah. And your wife has been here actually taking the photographs of us doing whatever this is.
That has been her thing for a while now, is photography. I won't say professional. I mean, she does get paid for gigs. So
it looks professional.
That counts, I guess.
That's what that means.
Well, she's very good. She's sort of taken a break from that with the little one now. It takes a lot of time and energy, so she's not up here as often snapping photos of us.
So you get the podcast, but she can't come take pictures,
huh? Priorities.
She's out riding the bicycle while you're working.
Right, yeah. Let's just say our youngest has many pictures already of him and lots of videos
He'll
shared.
Be well documented.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
That's cool.
Well, hey, I think that's awesome. And like I said before, I think you do a great job.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate you donating your time and skills to this. And
it's definitely fun for me. Yes, I enjoy it very much. And,
I was going to ask, so what is in this for you?
This
why
right here.
do you do this?
Good beer and camaraderie. So,
Right on.
yes.
Yeah, well, that's nice.
Yeah, no, I definitely enjoy it, and I feel like I've made a couple good friends here, and Chris and Kevin.
For sure.
And I
And
think
Eric.
we enjoy each other's company, and it's fun for me. So, I love the technical side. I don't spend that much time editing episodes as much as I maybe lead on to Chris and Tammy. Oh, man, I spent days and
14
days
hours
on
on
this
this
one.
one.
This was a tough one. But I do enjoy it. It's fun. So, yeah.
Well,
and I
good.
get to come out to the bar and hang out. What else could you
I
need?
I will tell you that even just the other day when Chris had an event here at the Stubborn, and I was talking to the fun part for me is meeting people that already know me. Because they listen and they heard the episode where I got to share my spiel. So now you just made a whole bunch of new friends, that are going to know all about you that you don't know who they are. And
Yeah.
it's cool. And a lot of people ask me, they're like, "Yeah, we know Chris, we know you, but what's this Jarod guy all about?" So
Our listeners demanded the Jarod episode,
They
didn't
did,
they?
actually,
Yeah.
popular demand.
I got 4 emails from Slovenia just the other day asking where the Jarod episode is.
Google Translate
So-
said, yep.
I don't know if he told you, but at our last Waterloo Optimist meeting, Chris and we actually looked up Slovenian beer because he
Yeah?
wants to brew one
Yeah.
in
All
honor
right.
of our
Hey,
Slovenian
you
listeners.
should. That'd be great.
That
it come
topic
up?
did come up. Yep.
Yeah. So for those of you in Slovenia, in a couple of months,
coming.
we will be hosting one for you.
For you. And if you would like to come here and imbibe with us, please do.
More than
Absolutely.
welcome. But I know those people in Slovenia, they all know the German word of the day because
Right.
they probably speak it, but we don't. So what is it?
I bet they do. Oh, yeah. So that means you forgot?
I don't forgot the answer.
The word is punktlich. Punktlich.
Punktlicht.
Kevin said it means high point. I think they were on a point thing here. Jarod said laser pointer, and Eric said light point. Which, point, light. Yeah, okay.
I feel like we were all leaning on Kevin on this one. He has
Yeah.
that point in there.
Maybe go
Yeah.
first.
It wasn't very creative. I mean, you could have thrown out a date
Exactly.
like Kevin did one time.
Yeah.
December 4th. Punktlich actually means punctual or on time.
Oh,
Wow.
punctual.
Punctual.
It's almost
Punctual.
obvious.
I mean,
That's what happens every time.
at some
Right.
point, you guys are going to get this.
Yes.
No wonder I couldn't figure it out.
Punktlicht. You're never
You're
punctual.
always late.
Because you're never punctual.
Well, that's fantastic. Now I feel so much better.
Should have known.
I tried to give you some easy ones here
Yeah.
the last few. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm trying to work with you.
I know. But the more you try, the smarter I don't get.
Maybe the next episode, the German word of the day will be bratwurst. 'cause
Yeah,
I
there you
think we
go.
went over that.
Yeah,
What's
Jarod
the
asked
German
us,
word
Exactly.
for
how do you say
bratwurst?
bratwurst in German?
I guess it'd just be bratwurst.
All right. Well, listen, friends, if you're still listening, we really appreciate it.
We do.
And we
For
want
those of you who haven't unsubscribed
No,
after this one,
yeah. Now you know Jarod inside and out, and that's all good fun. If you enjoyed this show, you can hit the subscribe button, and a new one will magically appear in whatever podcast service you subscribe to. And if you really have some gumption, write a review, click some stars. We'd appreciate that. Whatever you write in a review, if you got some constructive criticism, Chris will do it.
that's right.
I'll just do whatever you say. No problem.
So there you go. So for Mr. Chris Ron, Jarod Chasson, and our special guest Eric Vanberkum, as we close, we like to say, Prost!
Prost.
Prost!